all the words and adjectives that you would require and that a teacher has to live up to. And obviously, at your level, you have to welcome them to school. So I welcome all of you to this world of education because we are all in this together. If we remember education, and I remember my school days, it has always been traditional. We have always seen lined up benches, discipline, sitting in the same seats, coming in uniforms, discipline, and so on and so forth, and we got so much used to it. So when a new concept comes up, it is something like tomorrow you get a message that abolish homework from school. Well, you will be at a loss of what to do. क्या होगा? Homework नहीं मिलेगा. अरे बच्चे तो पागल हो जाएंगे. हम क्या करेंगे? So this is a new concept. Similarly, it is more revolutionary, and we have to change. Before I go on ahead, I would like to tell you that this is something which I read somewhere long ago because I want to appreciate the work that the school teachers at any level up to high school put into. Because as I very often say, what goes to the colleges and universities has been sculpted at the school. So there's an anecdote in the University of Houston. There was a professor of philosophy, and he wanted to make a difference between school teachers and university professors. So what did he say? He called the students across and he said that in school, teachers are evaluated on the basis of the learning outcome. What is the learning outcome? That means by standardized tests, your pass percentage, your distinctions, the students who are cleared, who don't stay back, the dropouts, the number. So, and the worst part I would call is that if the student does not learn, it is the teacher who is to blame. Teacher अच्छा नहीं था. That is a common, complaint which you would hear from the parents. ये teacher अच्छा है, वो teacher ने तो इसको समझाया नहीं. So that is the way it worked out. But then he said, in a university, it is not my job to teach the student. My job is to lead you to the place of knowledge. Learning is the job of the student. So he said that in a university, the professor leads us to the fountain of knowledge. Whether the student drinks it deeply or just gargles is entirely up to you. But what you sculpt, what you send to the universities with utmost dedication and sacrifice is what we decorate and present to the university, to the society. They are the people that we call. So that is where your emphasis and your inputs are most outstanding. So जो आप हमें तराश के भेजते हो, हम उसे सुर्खी बिंदी लगा के डेकोरेट करके समाज को दे देते हैं. They are who are our technocrats, or bureaucrats, future on, and so on and so forth. You are all effective teachers. These are the qualities of an effective teacher. You have a background, you have the prerequisites, you have a tuition, your a degree, a teacher training, and you as a person are the embodiment of knowledge in school, and whatever level, primary, secondary, post-secondary. As a part of your job responsibilities and practices, what do you have? You can manage your classroom, you can do your instruction, you can implement those instructions, you can organize, you can discipline, you are the master monitor. You can depute students and you can also monitor their progress. So you are all effective teachers, and this is what everyone looks forward in an effective teacher. When there's a teacher, they have to follow these 7 principles. What are these principles? Because once you follow these principles, they are cogwheels, as you can see here, and they work in a very well-oiled mechanism, one leading to the other. The first one is encouraging contact between students and the faculty, because this is of foremost importance. The frequent interaction with faculty members is more strongly related to satisfaction with the institution than with any other involvement. That is depicted in what goes out as your prospectus or your brochure or your admission mandate as an institutional characteristic. People come forward to look at that school where there is a lot of interaction, where the teachers are revered high. The second point is develop reciprocity and cooperation among students. So while we have to academically evaluate the performance and the satisfaction of the university, they are both together. The academic progress and the satisfaction. What is the pass percentage? Where do we stand as per last year? How do we go ahead for the next year? So these are closely related to the involvement of the faculty with the students. And this is what it provides for collaboration. This provides for collaboration. The third point is encourage active learning. We have to internalize. We have to internalize the learning students, and we must talk to them about what they are learning. They should reflect about it. They should relate to the past experiences, maybe what they did in the previous class, what they did in the previous grade, and then they apply that to their daily lives. That is encourage active learning. It is not what I learn in the 40 minutes of my maths class or in my physics or in my history. I have to relate it to my previous experience, my previous experiences, my previous practices. Then it is prompt feedback. What you know, what they know. So if it was more interactive, like in a personal level, we have that eye-to-eye contact. You remember, you can point out what are you doing, how do you understand, do you have a question? That is a feedback. And it helps the student to learn and focus on what is the important point. When you emphasize time taken on the task, you allocate a particular time and something has to be done on that. So that means the use of one's time management, it is critical for the students as well as for the professionals. What has to be done as per a lecture schedule in one day cannot be taken over to the next day. It cannot be forwarded. So this is learning effectively, effective learning and effective teaching. That is emphasizing time on task. Then you have to tell the students that yes, you have to perform very high. If you tell them 80% लेना है तो वो 75 लेंगे. अगर 75 बोलोगे तो maybe 70 ही लेंगे. So you have to always communicate to them that very high expectation is expected out of you, and you would like to perform well so that you become the best. And you will provide students with all details of explanation, syllabus, and all the projects and papers that they have to look into so that they live up to that expectation or their self-earned prophecies of very high performances. And then you have to respect whatever talents they have. There are schools, they have so many co-curricular programs, athletics, so on and so forth. So this is a need for opportunity, and the teachers have to do this. Now, these 7 points, they are basically guidelines. They are guidelines for what? They're guidelines for the faculty members, for the students, for the administrators to improve teaching and learning. So then why traditional schooling can't compare or prepare students for the modern workplace? Now, this is something, a question that we have to ask ourselves. And this is where I will say pedagogy is at test. I believe you all know what is pedagogy, because pedagogy is from a Greek, it's derived from the Greek language, where pedos means a boy or a child, and agogos means leader. So you have to train a child to be a leader. Now, if you try to think, well, when I did my grade 10, it was nearly 4 decades ago, the choices and the professions that I see today were never even conceptualized. No one ever thought that such kind of professions would come into. And believe me, there are surveys which say that when we teach students, we are not preparing them for the careers that will probably be invented. And one survey goes up to an extent that 65% of the children who enter grade school, they will end up working with careers which have not even been invented. When computers came up, no one knew that just in computers, there would be so many avenues and people would be so specialized. If someone wanted to be a doctor, there was one general physician. Now there is a doctor who is specialist in the wrist, another is specialist in the elbow, there's one with the little finger, one with the big toe, and these are kinds of careers that they have done it. Now, if you look again at the education system of where and why do we need this for the modern workplaces, that because students need to have more flexibility so that they ensure mastery for their subjects. So today we have to think, as we say in traditional teaching, the 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic. They are not efficient. They are not sufficient enough. It is also the skills for the job. And let me tell you that every employee looks forward to an employer looks forward to an employee who has strong collaboration skills, who has more into self-directing himself, who does not think of getting orders. When he is given a solution, he has to succeed. So you need skills for the job, and for those skills, you have to collaborate. So traditional education model tells us not to collaborate. Now, think about it. You ask a student, you pose a question to all of them, whatever it is. Write about the Second Battle of Panipat. Let's put it, for example, there would be history teachers here. Now, someone doesn't know the date, someone doesn't know the rulers, so he asks the desk mate, he asks someone across the line, he wants to know who fought with whom, and then what does the teacher do? Traditional way, why are you talking? Why are you disturbing? You will scold it. So that is not what is done in the modern workplace. Modern workplace encourages collaboration. I'm not good with dates. I would like to get the dates from somebody else. I know what is the history of that. I know the description of where the war took place, but I need something else. So you have to discover things together. That means you have to discover solutions to a problem together. Then you have to put something like creativity. You will get all kinds of odd questions out of the blue when you're asked for an interview. Your student might like to go and say when they're hiring, the recruiters may ask you a vague question. What happened? Do you know a tennis ball? Yes. How did you come to work? Did you drive? Yes. How many tennis balls can fit into your car? You say, this is weird. This is not done. But then there you should have knowledge. What do I do? Instead of saying, I don't know, shrug your shoulders and say, well, I don't know what it is. This is not a question that I should be asked. You can say, okay, what is the size of the tennis ball? Let me look out and work out its volume. Let me look out how many balls are there in this box, maybe 50. And what is the volume of the car? And you should know. That is how you create yourself. Your imagination should be able to process that present opportunity. Similarly, if I give you a third question, idea, this is best delivered by Google and Microsoft. 5 plus 5 is 10, 7 plus 3 is 10, 6 plus 4 is 10, 5 and 3 is 8, 4 and 4 is 8. So there is more than one way to solve a problem. Whereas in traditional teaching, there is only one right answer to the one right approach, because then the teaching and the learning is teacher oriented, teacher driven. Here, our learning is self directed. So these are the things that are needed. That is why we always say that traditional schooling cannot prepare us for the modern workplace. My thought or this thought process is substantiated by what is sometimes attributed to Albert Einstein, who said that everyone is a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it is stupid. So it's believable. A fish is very good in its environment and media, but it cannot climb a tree. So we are on the industrial age, and we are into the connected age. We are transforming, we are shifting from the industrial age, which valued uniformity and repetition. The connecting age values knowledge, and knowledge is power. The greatest assets are creativity, collaboration, and self-direction. This is what competition-based learning and teaching is all about. COVID-19 is talked about extensively these days, and this was a unique opportunity to redefine. And these are some of the points which you also might be knowing, which have been put forward. I'll quickly go through them. You can read through this entire slide. That we want to change and make schools as places of happiness. We have to reimagine, we have to create what? Unprecedented change for humanity. Everyone should have a right to physical and intellectual space. Online teaching, you're very well aware. But some schools have translated the entire program or the timetable into online. So a student is there for 8 hours on the screen. Recently, Ministry of Human Resources has sought out a change. How many hours a person or a student should be on screen? It is not. So that is the appalling condition. The entire timetable has been translated, 40 minutes each period for 8 periods a day. No. They are trying to devise that there should be no primary, secondary. Knowledge is integral, teaching should be there up to class 8, post class 8, 2 categories, no differentiation. Syllabuses to be reduced by 30% across all classes. The Hawa, the Bhoot of grade 10, grade 12, passing examinations to be removed so that there's a continuous evaluation. And then we have to train teachers so that we emphasize new techniques of teaching learning. And learning should be so important that the role of the teacher should convert from just teacher directed teaching into to ensure that a child stays connected with the school. He should be eager, he or she, to come to school, learn a new format, do a hands-on job, and so that we are more caring to our children. In short, the school should be at the center of community. So that is what COVID-19 is telling us to rethink. And when we rethink, this is about online. You see the benefits and the disadvantages. Traditional learning, knowledge exchange, skill development, we've talked so much about it. The e-learning is providing any time. I can have e-learning maybe in colleges. They say afternoon 2 o'clock is good for me. Then it's helpful for the instructors. I work from home. I'm teaching you here. Otherwise, I would have had to travel all the way to your school. But that personal interaction can never be compromised with. That is a different experience altogether. Disadvantages, the class size for the traditional teaching, the student-teacher ratio, the accessibility of the teacher, and for the e-learning, it is costly to produce. Skills have to be developed. Everyone is not equipped. Overnight, you cannot learn these skills. Affordability, there is no social interaction, as I said, that everyone is not on the net, is not connected. There's lack of immediate feedback. I'm not sure how are you listening, how is the student doing, what is he doing. People go around here, and then these are all the things. So therefore, in traditional classroom, the students stay in the same class for a given duration of time, which is like 40 minutes, 50 minutes, whatever, and they whatever they learn or they don't learn, the class is over, and we jump next day into the next class. But in competency-based learning, the students learn at their own pace and they progress to the next level. If I am comfortable with a plus b whole square, I will not move into the next class or the next quadratic until I'm comfortable. But sometimes the teacher goes too fast. I do not know how that trigonometry equation worked out, but I have to go to the next one. So I'm lagging behind. Then the teacher scolds me, and then I say, no, maths is dangerous. Maths is abstract. I don't get the heck of it. So traditional method of teaching is when a teacher directs the students to learn. How do we learn? Ratta lagao, memorize karo, recite karo, come up and tell us, and we go verbatim. Kahin bhool gaye, it's all gone. I don't even have time to relate and correlate and get my things. But let me tell you, when there's a bombardment of information, what are we killing? We are killing our problem solving and critical decision making skills. The more information, more knowledge which is bombarded to us from all sources, it kills our critical thing. Whereas the modern approach that we are talking of today, it involves more interaction, it's more constructive. There is something which is also related to this, is known as problem-based learning. You're given a problem, you're told how to do it, and you are then asked to illustrate. That is the first one. You're told what you need to know, then you memorize it, and then the problem is assigned and you say this is how it is done. The other way is the problem is assigned. The students are then said, you identify, tell what you need to know, you learn and you apply to solve the problem. It is more real life oriented. By this method, this student-centered approach, it could involve an individual, it could involve a group who are working on a real life problem. Maybe you have to prepare a video. One person is not sufficient. Someone knows the content, someone knows the shooting, someone knows the editing, someone else, the fourth person knows about the voiceovers. So to sharpen critical thinking, to strengthen teamwork, communication, research skills, these problem-solving activities are essential for lifelong learning. Many of us remember very vividly our school days. And in our school days, we remember some particular teachers who did so much for us. Even one sentence, 1 minute of their time is still fresh in our memories because they helped us sharpen our problem thing, and we also wanted them to have lifelong learning. So therefore, in problem-based learning, there are 8 essential elements. What you need to know, what is the question, what is the crux? Then how do we have a choice in the voices? We do an inquiry, we reflect and revise, audience we have to present, the curriculum which is to be presented, and of course the 21st century skills. They are very important. So working with PBL, as I said, there's a problem based, it's a real life, there's a jigsaw puzzle put up there. One person cannot do it, everyone gives his input. That is collaborative approach. So you become engaged with open-ended situations. You assimilate what is to be done. You participate in groups. Someone knows something, the other one doesn't know anything. And then you listen to the methods of finding information. Can I go and find out from Google? Can I go and see the encyclopedia? Then you investigate what is the problem. You critically think, you brainstorm, you list out, shortlist some unique solutions, and then work on them, which is best. It is something like analyzing the situation, like building a house. You go to an architect, you come up with something, you brainstorm, you go back again, you come back, you rebuild. So this is problem-based learning. There is something which is called as project-based learning. Here, inquiry and proposal, student-led collaborator, real work experience, reflections, evaluation, and how to do it. So problem-based learning, project-based learning, and both. What is the difference? In project-based learning, the teacher defines the problem. In a problem-based learning, the student defines the problem. When you put them both together, they have to be real-world connections. In project-based, the teacher identifies what you have to do. You sit down together, you prepare a solution, you make a PowerPoint, you come and tell out, someone goes and recites it. No. In problem-based, the students identify the steps. They create a solution, and then they go and recognize that solution. When you act together, the teacher is a guide, is a facilitator, the students are at the center. It's a real-life situation. There's active learning, lifelong learning process, and then self and peer assessment. Oh, I did it. Oh, we did it. Oh, that was so good. So in a problem-based learning, rather than in a project-based learning or in traditional learning, the students have more control over their learning and in the processes that are involved. If we know how things work out, we can always find solutions. Then competency-based skill. We talked about it, skill, knowledge, and attributes. Now, competency-based is not at a school level. It can exist as in biology we say at ecosystem, micro level. It goes up to the global level. This is at a classroom level. Then it ensures across the school, across various branches of the school, in the state, in the community, that is all same. It has to be competency based. What is competency based? And why do we need it? Because we have to transfer these learning objectives. These learning objectives, they are defined skills which are practiced and developed continuously. The academic reports are based on students demonstrating that they have learned the knowledge. I take a course on carpentry and I know how to assemble a table. I can write it down because I take these pieces of wood and these are the screws and I use a screwdriver. But then I write it down and tomorrow if I'm asked to do it, I do not know. I get 9 out of 10. But in competency based, I'll actually have to put together the table with a given set of screws and screwdrivers and whatever in the front of an assessor. And if I do it, I'm given 9 out of 10. Otherwise, I do nothing. So that is my competency. I have to demonstrate my mastery. I have to learn the measurable and transferable points. And then I have to receive support because this competency education is very meaningful. It is the learning experience for all the students. This is not a new trend. It has been happening over the years. In India, we have been having those training institutes, industrial training institutes, advanced training institutes, and so on and so forth. Whether they have been able to deliver is another matter of contention or discussion. We'll not do into this. But competency education, based education, is popular amongst the students because it is flexible and it is affordable. It is, as I said, more development of skills and disposition. So it's more like a Ludo game. It's more like a game of snakes and ladders. You have solutions, you can measure them, you can be ethical, and you can go on and go forth. As we talked earlier, relevance of the subject, self-paced, holistic development. It is a combination of theory and practical application. Theory and practical application, so you have to have those academic standards. You cannot digress from them. The scholars, the teachers that you and we are, the educators, we have to be professionally experts. And you have to ask them to make assessments of mastery. So therefore, it's the entire brain which learns. So personalized learning, project-based learning, meaningful assessments, which are very, very perfect and also measurable competencies they add up to what is competency based learning. It's not easy, it has to come with time. So there are four basic stages. The students learn what is clear and it is shared with them and they have a choice. Then we assess and they get a positive feedback. They explore new ways of learning and they understand they don't. When they don't understand, they go back, they revise, they redo the work, they share with their friends. It's very easy to learn from a peer, from a co student, from a colleague, than from a teacher and a superior. And then